What's up, Mount Pleasant T-Rock family, and welcome to the Blue Carpet Teen Talk, where we discuss all things Christ, culture, and everyday life. Grab a friend and grab a seat and join us at the carpet for some real conversation. Hello, Mount Pleasant T-Rock family, and welcome to the Blue Carpet Teen Talk for our first segment where we will be discussing racism. Today I have with me a panel of young people who have so much knowledge and information, and oftentimes in culture, young people's ideas get overlooked. So today, let's talk about it. With me I have attorney Jasmine Reese, IT developer Khalif Atwater, and high school senior and athlete Layla Johnson. So statistically speaking, according to DoSomething.org, in 2015 to 2016, Black students only represented 15% of U.S. enrollment. But Black students made up 35% of students suspended once, 44% of students suspended more than once, and 36% of students expelled. The Department of Education said that this issue was not explained by more frequent or serious misbehaviors by students of color. That's crazy. So, to hop right in, guys, let me ask, just for clarification, does everybody understand the difference between racism, prejudice, and discrimination?
Yes, I understand the difference. Discrimination, they target specific group like race, color, gender, and racism, I believe, like, it's a belief, like, it's what people believe and they was learned this. And prejudice is causing harm to people without a good reason.
Okay. What about you, Khalif?
I agree. I think that it's a belief. Racism is a belief. It's a systematic belief. I think prejudice. It can be more than just black versus white. Prejudice can also be black. Black and black. So I think that's kind of the difference there. And discrimination, like you said, it can be gender, hair, height, whatever. So I think that's the major differences.
Okay. So Jasmine, can you give us a little background or some definitions of those three?
I can. I actually used Google. Everybody should use it, and got the official definition. And all of you all's explanation of racism, prejudice, and discrimination is pretty much on point. Racism is the belief that one particular race is the primary determinant of human characteristics and traits, and that a specific race is inherently superior than another. So to simplify it, racism can be thinking that your race is inherently better than another race. Prejudice, Layla, I like the definition that you gave. It was pretty much on point. Prejudice is the irrational attitude of hostility directed towards a group, an individual, or specific characteristic. And lastly, discrimination, like you all said, it's more of the act of both of those. Discrimination is the practice of a perceived difference categorically rather than individually.
So that's good right there, right? I'm sure we all have had experience with such. So now I'm going to ask you guys, do you agree or disagree with the statements I'm about to say? People are more racist today than they were 50 years ago?
I don't think that's true. I think that it's just more broadcast now than what it was, back then. We didn't see what happened up north. We didn't see what happened out west. We didn't see, whatever have you, in wherever area. Now there's people recording it. Now there's people, saying it live on TV, whatever, or doing whatever on live TV. So it's now broadcast, so now everybody can see it today. I think back then, like I said, back then it was kind of more on the tuck where we didn't know, something happened. Somebody was hung, somebody was whatever. We don't know. We didn't see it. We might have heard through the grapevine. We saw a newspaper, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe years later, we actually know something happened. So I don't think that is. I disagree that is today more, versus 50 years ago. So.
Okay. Layla, what do you think?
I disagree with that statement because people were more brutal back then. They used police dogs, fire hoses, and people were lynched back in the day. You had to be more cautious. And like Khalif said, it's more broadcasters around the world now. So yeah.
That's what's up. That's true. Do you have anything?
I agree with both of those statements. I think that they were right on point.
I agree for sure as well. So my next one is, do we think that children are more racist than adults?
I would say no, and I'm just going to base my answer on my experience that I've had. Growing up, I predominantly went to predominantly white schools growing up. And I can think back to my experiences with the white students in those schools and people who I was friends with. And I remember distinctly there being like a gradual change as we got older. I remember when I was younger, like in elementary school, I didn't really feel it as much. But as I got older and we as individuals start having more experiences in life, I definitely started to notice a change in the same students that I used to be in the same class with 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Now they look at me a little differently, or I may look at them a little bit differently because we've had different experiences that have maybe even tainted us a little bit.
Right.
So I do think, I agree.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely think that adults can be brutal, and children just watch that. And if children are watching that and they're seeing something, what can they do other than repeat the same thing that they saw, Right. Do you guys have any experience with that or, anything of that nature?
For me, it was kind of the opposite of your situation. Pre-K, elementary school, I was at all black schools where, I'm not saying we didn't know that other races existed, honestly, but everybody was just the same as me, or the same complexion, the same been in the same life situations, right. As me. So it wasn't so much of, like I said, we didn't know they didn't exist. It was just that that's all we saw. So then, I went from pre-K elementary school, all black, to now going to a diverse middle school, and now it's real world. And now it's like, okay, there are other people that exist, other people, other genders, other everything. Not really genders, but everything, is different now. So now, you start to see reality for what it is, for what you hear from the adults who had to endure more, who actually probably have real life experiences, especially like older parents like mine, who had to deal with KKK walking through their backyard in Kentucky. They really went through that, whereas we heard about it. So now when you get a chance to actually see it for yourself in the middle school when it's diverse, now you're like, oh, wow, this is what they were talking about. This is what I was hearing about. So to answer your question, no, I don't think children are more racist. I think that, like I said, adults just have to endure more, and we hear it and we kind of learn it. So more of like a learned behavior type of thing.
I think adults are more racist than children. They're brutal, that's all.
For sure. Understood. So just to go into our next one, Khalif, you kind of touched on it already. Is racism a learned behavior? And I think so, because like I said before, it's what you see. Everything that children do is learned. So as young people, I don't think that adults always know that we're absorbing everything that they're giving us, whether it's the attitude, whether it's the things they say to us, whether it's how they treat us, whether it's how they treat somebody else. We learn information, we learn everything we do by absorbing first our parents, and then whoever the next person is outside our parents. That's why school is so important, but that's another topic for another day, how they treat us at the schools, but But moving forward, as it relates to us, as we know that this is Mount Pleasant, we are part of a ministry, all of us are young people, participate in things. What do we think about Christianity and how it plays a role in racism? Do we think Christians are racist?
I could take this one. I would say that Christians can be racist. I wouldn't say that Christians are inherently racist.
Okay.
Just like Christians are not all inherently liars. Mm-hmm. I think that anybody can be anything. So do I think that there are racist Christians? Yes, I've actually come in contact with them. My first memory of experiencing racism that I can remember and feel in my heart was back in 5th grade. I was at a predominantly white Christian private school. It was a well-known school in the south side of Atlanta. Everybody and their mom wanted to get their kids to go to this school, and I was there. And I would never forget this teacher. I won't say her name, but I would never forget this teacher. If I see her today, I'd probably feel the same emotion because she made me feel that unwanted. I was in her classroom, and I always knew that she didn't really care for me, but I've always been a very strong-minded individual. I remember when I was young, my dad would have me reading like Malcolm X and probably some other stuff I probably shouldn't have been reading, but I was reading it anyways. I was in her class one day, and you know, she steps out like some teachers do. She stepped out for a minute, and she said, "Class, I'll be right back." And I was that child. I had my group of friends. I didn't really talk. I never got in trouble. And 2 kids, one of them, he was a pretty heavy set guy. Like, he was a solid boy to be in the 5th grade. And I was really skinny. I'm still really small, but I was really, really skinny. So, like, if you pushed me, you could fall over. Yeah, I could fall over. Like, you could actually hurt me. And I remember she stepped out for a minute, and he and his friend got up, and they basically started talking about people. They just were doing the Joneses down the line. And it's fine because, again, I was skinny, so I had been picked on all my life, so I knew how to come back with a good "yo mama" joke, so it didn't bother me. It didn't ruffle me that much. And he came down, and he finally got to me, and he said a "yo mama" joke. And because I had been picked on for so long, mine were just, I could come back and, come back and get
Let
you.
them know.
So I came back and I said something. I said a "your mama" joke or something, and whatever I said must have really hurt him because he hauled up and pushed me with all his weight. And I kind of stumbled back, and when I got back up, don't worry, because I got back up on my feet. And when I got back up on my feet, I actually hit him. And I'm not promoting violence, but he had hit me first, so I hit him back. And
defend yourself, girl.
But my teacher, she ended up coming back into the classroom like as soon as I'd hit him, and he was a white kid. And so sometimes with some white people, like if you just touch their face or touch their arm, the blood will rush to that area. Not necessarily that you've actually bruised them or hit them very hard. It's just their skin and their nature. And I didn't really haul off and slap him that hard, but I mean, he pushed me.
You did some damage.
I did a little damage. And what really got me was when the teacher came back in, he immediately said, "Miss So-and-so, Jasmine hit me." And again, I'm not a student who's ever been in trouble, ever. And she knew that. But it was only 3 of us in the classroom, 3 black people, and she came to me, and she immediately threw me out the classroom, and she embarrassed me in front of everybody. And I said to her, she said, "Well, he said that you hit him." And I said, "But Miss So-and-so, he hit me first." And I was only defending myself. I said, "He should be put out in the hallway too." And she said, "Well, he has a mark on his face and you don't." And I said, "Well, Miss So-and-so, I'm dark skinned. You would have to really hit me pretty hard for there to be a mark." And she didn't get the issue, and she put me out the classroom. And I remember I was so angry. I ended up telling her to call my mom and to come rectify the situation. But I remember that being like my first incident with somebody feeling like they were mistreating me because of the color of my skin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whew.
It's difficult raising teenagers these days. There are a lot more distractions than perhaps when you were growing up. One of the things that I cherish most about my children is that they can come to my wife and I and talk about anything from A to Z. Maybe that approach can help you raise your teenagers too. We have a vibrant teen ministry at our church. We'd be glad to see you and your family this Sunday.
Yeah.
Whew.
And that was at a Christian school.
Yeah. Let me tell you, Christians are a lot of things. And we are Christians, I mean, but first we're human.
Right.
So I think a lot of times the connotation with Christianity gets mixed up in us being holier than thou or perfect, when a lot of the times it's the nature of what we're taught, like we stated before. So what can we do in a time where we're being taught something or we're constantly seeing something, and then this is what it is, or this is how we react or what we do? All we can do is what we see or what we know, and that's kind of how it is. I mean, we can try to practice Christianity in the best form as possible, but on a day-to-day basis, what's in you is what's going to come out. So if the word is in you, the word will come out. If Jesus is in you, Jesus will come out. If anger is in you, anger will come out. You know, if hate is in you, hate will come out. So it's just a play on those things, trying to figure out that balance and still being a human being, you know, like something that we deal with every day with whatever it is. At work, you're an attorney. At work, you IT. You're in school, you're a student. Whatever it is, we are all of those things, and trying to balance it is where it plays a role. But when is the line crossed when it comes to hatred or showing that to people? So I think that's real important. I guess, can you still be a racist and be a good person?
I think you can. I think you can be a good person.
What?
I think it's just that you don't have the right understanding of something, so you just react based on what you learn, what's in you. I think you could still have a good heart. You just don't understand the other side, or you don't understand, the realities, or honestly, well, kind of what we see today, you ignored the realities. But I don't think that makes you a bad person. And I'm kind of reminded of you shared a story. I'm kind of reminded of a lady who was my teacher, and I was at a school similar to your situation, but it was a summer camp, and the lady was white, and again, we're not saying any of us are hatred towards any other race or anything like that, but the lady was white, and she said, simply said to me out loud, that I couldn't read, and that I would never amount to anything. So that, at a young age, I think I was in like 7th, 8th grade in a summer camp. And it's still young because, again, I'm coming from just now really getting adjusted to seeing other races. Right. To hear that, especially when you at home, you're taught, Khalif, you're going to make it, you're going to do the good, or you're coming from, you're shocking, right? And you're coming from even other elementary schools or the pre-Ks and where they're not really race, not really prejudiced towards any other race or anything else. You're just pro-black because that's all you know. That she was, she told me I couldn't read, and it was very shocking, like you said. So, but I think the lady was I really genuinely think that she was a great lady. It's just that, and I stumbled over a few words. I know, like I was spitting out the words.
But you shouldn't tell a student, just flat out.
I couldn't read, and it was
education.
In front of the class, and it wasn't like it was pulled to the side. It was right in front of the class. Sir, you can't read, and it was like, okay, and you look up, and now Morehouse student, graduate 3.0, IT development.
Okay.
Talk my talk.
Okay, talk your talk then, sir.
But I think genuinely, I think she was a good lady, and I still, if I would see her again, I think she'd still be a great lady. But it just sucks that it had to go that way. So now my mind is tainted from who you really could be. But I think she was still a good lady, though.
Layla, what about you?
Well, I think you can be racist and a good person. Like Khalif said, your heart might be in the right place, but your mindset is not there. So, I had this one white lady in my school or whatever. And, my school ain't the best, but, it's all right. So, I always done well in school. I'm very smart or whatever. Okay. And she would, one day she told me, Layla, I never expected you to succeed among all of them. I'm like, wow. What you mean? Like, everybody here is smart. Maybe they behavior not there, but they're smart. You just got to get to know them. And that's why I feel like these teachers go wrong at. You can't, look at their behavior. You just got to look at who they truly are. So, yeah.
You never know why a person is acting out. Right. That's real. So, even with that being said, and we can see how a racist or someone who is acting in that manner can be a good person. So are we also agreeing that some discrimination is justified or no?
No. No.
I think from my perspective, I don't think that it's justifiable for anyone to be discriminated against for anything, but I think it's so embedded in how we are and who we are, we don't even realize we're doing it. Like, it could be a scenario where we're outside on the street. Y'all know we go to church, for the people who know, y'all know. And we judge this area, even with that, like, oh yeah, we're not staying here at nighttime. When at nighttime, get in your car and go on. No, you have to have this, you have to have that, you have to be here, you have to do this. And some of the people that's out there on the street are just like us, and we wouldn't even know it. So I don't think, like we all just agree, no, we don't think that any type of, discrimination is justifiable, but we do it so often, we don't even pay attention to the fact that we're doing it.
It just comes down to the simple, what's the phrase? You can't judge a book by its cover. That's because in the same breath, we say, they don't deserve this job because they have dreads or whatever. You look on the other side of the situation, I reminded the guy on Instagram who has tattoos everywhere, and his profile is nothing but full of guns. But if you start talking to him, he's one of the most intelligent people you ever know. And his kids are just even more intelligent. And he purposely puts them in situations where they have guns in their hand, the kids, and then asking them facts about real life situations, or what to do, or even material from school material, and they're spitting out the answers left and right. So like I said, it goes back to at the end of the day, understanding what somebody's been through, why they're like this, mentally, to really understand the full picture of all aspects of life, not even just racism.
Gotcha. So if your family is racist, will you be racist?
I feel like racism is a learned behavior, but I feel like a person with a strong mindset would be like, you know what, this wrong, I'm gonna have to change my ways. These people ain't even did nothing to us. Like, why are we being racist to them? So yeah, I do feel like racism is learned.
Okay.
I don't think that just because your family is racist that you will be racist or prejudiced. I think it might make the likelihood of that higher. But I think in 2020, it's just everybody has so much exposure to other cultures. Like even as a black woman, when I get on social media, my social media pages aren't just filled with black people. Like all different types of people from all different walks of life come across my page. And the people that I experience in my line of work come from all different, lives. So I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is I sometimes don't feel the greatest about giving people excuses about their prejudice and discrimination in 2020 because I'm like, there's too much opportunity to just learn and to just know. So when someone says, well, that's all I've ever known, like, you're not a child. And it's 2020. We have the internet, we have Google.
For sure.
And you are coming, when you go to Kroger, everybody in that Kroger doesn't look like you. When you go to the bank, everybody doesn't look like you. So I don't know that that's an excuse anymore in 2020.
So what do you do when you're dealing with someone who says, oh, I didn't know?
I come across that sometimes in work. In my work, I just have to let it go because I'm at work. But in real life, if I'm not in a professional setting, I don't really let it slide.
Okay.
Because I know that as a black person in my field, and in your field, and in your field, and even you at school, we don't get to slide. We don't get to come off half-stepping. So, no, you don't get to come to me half-stepping. You come correct.
Come correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What'd you say, period?
Period.
That's what y'all be saying, period.
Period.
No, but I think that's very important when we're discussing all the things that we've been saying have been really, important. But as far as dealing with people who don't know, people who may be ignorant to whatever it is, to a certain degree, it is once you get to a certain age, it is your responsibility to learn for yourself outside of your family, outside of the things that you may have had going on before, outside of your own experiences, because you're not just going to encounter you. The world is changing day by day. Everything that we see, like we said, on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, whatever social medias that we're on, in YouTube, all these things have so much information, a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information, and it's so much out there. And if we don't hold each other accountable, who's going to do it? And the law's definitely going to hold us as African Americans accountable. So we have to hold each other accountable for things that we don't know. And for those who are our friends, or we say are our friends from other cultures or other places, we have to hold them accountable as well. Because, at the end of the day, we want the world to be a better place, right?
Right.
So, that's what we got to do. So moving forward, What do you guys think causes racism and prejudice or discrimination?
One, like I said, it's learned. Like we all said, it's learned behavior. So that's the majority of it.
Do you think it's genuine hate?
No, it's confusion. I think it's confusion. I think it's, like I said, it's learned. I can give you the example of my mother having to deal with seeing the KKK in the backyard, and I never had to deal with the KKK, but now I know I was not really taught, but I can hear them say, we don't mess with them, we don't rock with them. So now I'm like, all right, we don't rock with them. But now, like you just stated, now I have to look up, okay, why don't we rock with them as a black community, as even further down as my family, now even further down to me, why don't I rock with them? So we have to, I think, like I said, it's confusion. Because now if I never knew that, you know, what their message was, what they were trying to do, at any white supremacy group or anything, then I'm like, all right, well, I don't like them, cool, whatever. And I don't know why, right. You know, and so I think that is, one is learned behavior, two is confusion, and then, yeah, I don't know. Okay. Somewhere around there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think we've said things that basically we all had a personal experience in some form or fashion, but at the same time, a lot of it, like you said, is learned behavior. So we are listening to what other people say about it. So I think that a lot of things that's really true. Like what people not knowing, the lack of knowledge, the lack of not knowing what really is, or sometimes trying to cover up what it really is so that you seem to know more than you do. So that's another thing. I guess since we've all expressed that we all have been affected in some way, do you feel that police profile young black people, men and women?
I get, for me, I this is sad, but in high school I was legit pulled over. Legit. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks I was pulled over 7 times. A black guy in Douglasville riding around in the Benz. I think that they do profile, but also I think that it's fear and not being familiar with their environment. They don't really know their environment. They don't know that the people that are in their environment. So they have to. My son is not driving a Benz. How is he? So that goes into the profile thing. But then it also, like I said, if they don't know the area, so for example, if we have a black cop who knows this area right here, they're not going to profile as much because they know what we are capable of. They know, and the same thing with white cops in their area. They know what it is, so that and it becomes easier to police, your area. So now certain things aren't let slip or aren't under the radar because now we know that's how it is. We know their parents probably. So it's we get profiled, and so to answer your question, but I think it's a lot of moving pieces that need to be kind of looked at as a whole.
Okay, so yes, and just to kind of give the bottom line of what profiling is the act of suspecting, targeting, or assuming information about a person or group based on past behaviors or tendencies from a person or group with their likeness. With that being said, with us all having that experience, with us all having that wealth of information and so many more experiences to share, we will stop this right here. And thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you again.
You've been blessed by the Mount Pleasant Baptist Church, Atlanta, Georgia broadcast ministry. Mount Pleasant Baptist Church is located at 17 Meldon Avenue, Southeast Atlanta, Georgia. Roderick Weathersby is pastor. For information, service times, and events, and to sow a financial gift to bless the ministry, go to mountpleasantatl.org. mountpleasantatl.org. God bless you.